Now, for more on this topic, we're joined by Ebong Eka, a consultant at Levyti. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So let's first start off. There is some discrepancy about who exactly makes up this millennial population, and that depends on which country you're living in.
Yes.
So give us an understanding. Just how large is the millennial population worldwide?
It's huge. It's about 27% of the global population. So 7.4 billion people, approximately a little less than 2 billion people are millennials.
So in terms of some of the similarities, as we look at them country by country, what do they have in common and what are the biggest differences?
Well, there's some differences, and some of them are very obvious. So if you look at Western culture, US, Canada, North America, some parts of South America, and even Western Europe, you're seeing that there's political differences and economic differences, opposed to Africa, let's say countries like Iran and other areas where economically they have challenges or politically they have challenges.
And that's understandable. So with that being said, let's start by looking at the ways that millennials are affecting the global economy. What are some of the key areas that stand out?
One of the big things is how they brand and market and how they're using technology. They're a lot more technology savvy, like in the previous piece where they're talking about Alipay, very similar to the US as well. So if you look at also sites like Fiverr or Freelancer, there are a lot of people who are global who now have an opportunity to make money, to earn a living remotely without having to actually go to work or go to a factory. They can work from home with a computer and an internet.
And what are some of the other industries? You mentioned this idea of how we pay for things, but even in terms of what we watch, the millennials basically seem to be being blamed for the destruction of some of these industries. People are wondering, how much is it about the millennials and how much is it about just things changing and things modernizing?
The millennials did a great job with innovation and changing. So I'm a huge capitalist, and as a result of capitalism, I love innovation. So when you look at the way millennials consume content online, whether it's through Hulu or Netflix or even Amazon. You saw them now, how Amazon won awards at the Golden Globes. They're making a huge impact. Millennials also care about health and wellness. So they're thinking more about what to eat, how to get new services of food to their homes. And they're also, unlike other countries, millennials here, especially in the US, are not concerned with buying a home and staying somewhere. They want to drive cars that are smaller, that actually achieve their only purpose, not for status, but they want to drive somewhere and then get out of the car and go do something else. The last thing I would say is they really care about experiences. So they're not wasting, for them, they don't want to own a bunch of things. They'd rather spend that same amount of money on experiencing something, going somewhere and living a little bit differently.
So we've talked about some of the things that they're interested in. Now, obviously, that means they may be getting less interested in other things, other traditional sectors. So who are the ones who are really suffering then from these millennial consumer tastes? Well,
it depends. If you were a smart business owner, what you'd want to do is you want to cater to them because the buying power is astronomical. They're entering their years where they're going to start earning a living. So whether it's they came out of college or university, now they have the opportunity to earn a living through a myriad of ways. So one of the things, if you're thinking from a business perspective, is how do I cater to them because they're going to be my customer. So that's what I care about more than anything else. And yes, they are disturbing the fabric of a lot of things, but there's some things that's still actually keeping them back. For example, in the US, student loan debt.
Now, what about some of the strategies that some of these businesses are using to really try and woo this millennial demographic? What are they doing?
Well, you're hearing two kinds of thought. The baby boomers, or the old fogey generation, are thinking, well, why do I have to cater to these kids? But they are the future of the generation. So one thing they're doing is they're focusing more on giving millennials, instead of money, giving them actually experiences. So if they care about, say, SoulCycle as an example, they'll say, let me give you a membership to SoulCycle rather than giving you several $1,000s in additional bonuses.
And is this working? What would you say in terms of the best strategy? If you're a business out there and you're seeing that millennials are turning away from your company, they're just not interested, is there any sort of formula that they can look to really try and connect with this demographic?
Great question. I think more importantly, if you're a business owner and you want to court millennials, you have to adhere to their desire to help the world. You have to adhere to their desire of having, for lack of a better term, altruism and believing that there's a lot of good out there. So they care about charity. They care about volunteering. They care about more balance in their lives. They're not necessarily driven to work 10, 20 hours every 2 days or something like that. What they really want to do is they want to have 8 hours of work, but also have an impact in their community as well. If you offer that as an example, I think you have a better chance of getting them.
We'll have to see how many companies heed the call. Thank you so much for joining us, Ebong Eka, a consultant at Levyti.